I want to try and keep this very like actionable. Like nutrition is something that often is overcomplicated, and it's actually really rare that people do need complexity, because complexity is something that often is hard to stick with. So I tend to go for like, what are the simplest possible things that we can do and stick with over a long period of time. That's my approach with training. It's my approach with nutrition. It's approach with mental health. It's approach with everything. Just like, what are the biggest levers that are going to give us the best possible return on our time and our energy, and then just focus on that, because there will always be a new fad thing that comes out. There'll be a new diet. There'll be a new drug. There'll be a new training style. There'll be a new something else, and it'll be new and shiny. And then same as every other one, a couple of years later, the hype will have died off. And I like to try and focus on the things that aren't necessarily the hype, the things that have been tried and tested. It's been true for 50 years. It will always be true. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff that I want us to learn about. So I think throughout this, there's going to be a few bits where you're probably going to want to get your phone out and take pictures of slides. If you're a client of ours, that's outside of the 6 weeks, we're going to start talking about that with you. If you're inside of the 6 weeks, I don't want to go into it too much now, because I actually would rather we nail just the training side of things. I don't want us to try and juggle too much at once. So when you leave your 6 weeks, then we can talk about it more. If you're not a client, you got to figure it out on your own for now. Okay. So nutrition for people that are over 50. Stop guessing. Essentially, that's what we want to do. I want you to leave this understanding like why our body weight changes. That can be up or down. Stop relying on stricter diets, because most diets that we have probably followed in the past meant that there was good foods and bad foods. You can do this, you can't do that. There is no such thing as good and bad. It's more, how much can you get away with? There are certain foods that you can still have, but simplest one is, do you think if you have cake like on your birthday, is that going to have much of a detrimental effect to your life? If you eat cake every single day, do you think that might have a detrimental effect on your life? Yeah, exactly. Like, I believe that there's very few things that like will mess you up in the long term. I think it's just thinking about like, how much can I get away with? Yesterday, I had a takeaway from Bombay. I had 2 beers. Like, I eat chocolate like most days. Like, I'm a normal person, but it's balanced. I don't have takeaways every single week or multiple times a week. I don't drink excessively, because if I was to eliminate alcohol altogether, which I understand that's fine for some people depending on their situation, but for me, I would end up craving it, and then I would probably end up like having a blowout. And I would rather just have a few drinks when I fancy them, which is normally every week I will have like a couple. And that means that I can sustain that for the long run. We want to actually work through a rough calorie target for everybody. I want us to know exactly what we're aiming for. Understanding proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. So these are like, those 2 things right there will get you like 95% of the results, like full stop. Everything else, all the, I'm eating too late, or bread's not good, or bullshit. Like, that is the 5% that everyone focuses on, because that's where you hear the new trendy stuff. Ultimately, it will boil down to calories and your macronutrients, so your carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Once we figure those out, which takes a bit of time at the start, we're set for life then. It just becomes so much more easier in the long run. And then actually making a couple of small changes, because we're going to have like, this is what we're doing right now, and we're going to kind of create what the perfect situation may be. We don't try to get there straight away. We just think like, what's going to be the first simple change that I can make that will move me in a step towards like my end goal. And then maybe after a month or 2, we'll pick another step, and we're going to incrementally work towards this longer term goal, opposed to going home, throwing everything out your cupboards and starting again from scratch, because it doesn't work. So it isn't going to be a list of good and bad foods, because Kirsty will attest to this. So when I get asked this all the time, and somebody's like, oh, is X good for you? Or is X thing bad for you? And I'm like, define what good means. Because it means different things to different people. I think that good and bad is a really like, it's a weird way to look at things, because most things in life, the truth somewhere is in the middle, isn't it? There's a bit of a grey area. It's not going to be another diet to follow, and I'm going to explain why I don't like diet, and I don't even like the term diet. And then it's not going to be like a perfect meal plan, because if anyone has ever followed a meal plan, they fail every single time, 100% of the time, because unless you are eating the same thing for the rest of your life, then a meal plan is going to fail. No, you're never going to eat out at a restaurant ever again. You're never going to have a slice of cake for your birthday. So this is going to be about understanding the basics, and the basics will get you almost all the results. Knowing what we need to prioritize the most, and then building something that's actually going to fit around your life. Because if you do like to go out and have some drinks, then good, do that. But we just want to put some parameters in place where that's not going to be too detrimental to your long term. Because realistically, if we live an absolutely perfect life with everything well balanced and our nutrition was on point, our training's on point, and our rest, and that would probably be a really boring life. Realistically, it probably would be, and that would mean that it wouldn't be quite as enjoyable. And I think that part of us trying to live longer and be more mobile, more active, is actually to have like better actual quality of life and enjoyment, and that's going to mean being able to go on holiday with your friends and get pissed. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. It's stuff that you're probably going to want to do at some point, or like go out and have a big meal with the family and just enjoy yourself. But then it's finding balance. So the basic principle. Does everyone know what a calorie is? Has everyone heard of a calorie? Okay. Does anyone know what it actually means? Yeah.
I think I do. It's got to do with there was a thing where they burned food and worked out how long it took
Yeah.
to burn the food.
Yes. Yeah. So that's how they measure calories. So essentially, there is a machine. I don't understand how it works, but they can put food into this machine, and it will burn up the food. And how long that lasts for is the units of calories. So a calorie is a unit of measurement for energy, like kilowatts, so it's a unit of measurement for energy. But instead of it being like plugging in your fridge, it's plugging in you. So it's the energy that you put into your body. And if you have a surplus of that energy, i.e. you're eating and drinking more than you expend, the only thing that can happen to that is it will be stored as fat. Think of fat as like the reserve tank. So imagine you're filling up your car with fuel. If you just carried on going, eventually it would start, if they didn't shut the pumps off, but it would start overflowing, wouldn't it? Because you're putting too much energy into the car, and it cannot use that much, it cannot store that much. Imagine instead of it spilling out, that's where it's just turning into fat at that point. So as long as we can balance our energy expenditure with our energy input, that single thing will control our body weight. Nothing else. It doesn't matter when we eat. It doesn't even matter what we eat. We could eat Mars bars, and if we only consume Mars bars that are, like, as if we said 2-3 Mars bars a day, so I don't know what they are, like 300 calories, 200 calories, I'm not sure. So if we were only eating 700, 800, 900 calories a day, that would be a deficit for us. So we'd still lose weight. You'd feel like shit because you're only eating Mars bars. So, and I'm definitely not recommending that we do that, but I'm using that as an example. And also on the opposite end of the scale, if we only ate broccoli, if we ate an obscene amount of broccoli to the point where we're eating 3,000 calories a day worth of broccoli, which would be probably impossible, we would still get fat. What it is doesn't matter, because it's just that energy exchange. So it's just bearing in mind that is the thing that will dictate what happens to your body weight. And then we need to also think about what is our goal. Losing weight, maintaining weight, and gaining weight. The majority of the people are probably going to want to lose weight at a certain extent, like only, that's going to be what most people are aiming for. Not necessarily is the main thing that we're trying to do. Most of us are trying to get stronger, move better, feel fitter. But also, if we've got a body that's just a little bit lighter, that will also help with our mobility. If we're not carrying excess fat that we don't need, because beyond a certain point, those extra energy reserves of fat are somewhat useless. So it's understanding, right, okay, do we have more fat in our body that we need? If so, then maybe we try and lose a little bit of it while we're still trying to get stronger. Maintenance, that's where we essentially, we're like, I don't want to gain or lose weight, but in the fitness industry, we call that like recompositioning. So the body composition, i.e. the ratio of muscle and fat, is going to change. So I want to ideally, over time, lose half a stone of fat, gain half a stone of muscle. So on the scales, I would appear the same, but I look different, my clothes fit different, I feel different. Like right now I'm a little bit lighter because I am restricting my calories a bit more because I'm going to Turkey in 4 weeks. But I spend most of my year classified as obese because I am 5'9", I weigh about between 92 to 94 kilos. I hold a decent amount of muscle. So according to the scales, I'm obese. I actually have to like work really hard just to even get into the overweight category, and I would have to lose loads of muscle to get into my ideal weight according to BMI. So it's just thinking about muscle weighs a lot more than fat. So once we start to identify, are we trying to gain weight, maintain weight, or lose weight, then we can start to think about how do we manipulate the calories. And I want to talk about some popular diets. Has anyone heard of Weight Watchers? Yeah? Slimming World? Slim Fast, Cambridge Diet, Atkins, keto, low carb, intermittent fasting. So they all work, right? Everyone's probably known somebody who's had some success with them, and we also probably know somebody who hasn't had success with them. Often they will contradict each other. So how's that the case? It's because they actually all work via the exact same thing, which is controlling calories. Because intermittent fasting, does anyone know what that is? Yeah, so it's where you'll have like an eating window. So I actually like intermittent fasting for me personally because when I'm busy, I just forget to eat. So it actually suits me quite well. It's not for everybody, but it's hard to overeat if your first meal is at 6, 7 o'clock in the afternoon. That's what I do. That's just because it's easy for me. I have like 3 or 4 hours where I actually eat. So I get to eat fucking loads. Because I do. Because I'm getting all my food in like a short window. Yeah.
Does your energy level differ?
Yes.
Where
Yeah.
you know you're coming to an end of that and you feel the deficit that you need to constantly.
If you're somebody who wakes up in the morning and you're hungry straight away, intermittent fasting is probably not for you. Yeah. It's not. What's that? Sorry. Yeah, Jim, eat straight away. So, the thing is, as long as you're consuming the same amount of calories over the course of the day, it doesn't matter too much. There definitely is an argument for more spaced out meals being more beneficial for stable energy levels, for stable blood sugar, even for protein, because if you're getting steady feedings of protein, there's an argument for it, and there's also arguments against it, which I'm not going to go into because that is way more in depth, because there's this whole like autophagy thing where there's like cell proliferation, so you basically turn over more dead cells that are in your body or dying cells, so there's reductions in cancer rates from fasting, and that's a much more in-depth topic that I'll probably talk about next year maybe for anyone who cares about it. But what I'm saying is if I only have 4 hours a day to eat my food, imagine you cramming all your food that you spread over the day into 4 hours, right? You're probably pretty stuffed. And I absolutely hate finishing a meal and being hungry at the end. Fuming if I do that. I am. Really, really annoyed. I like to be full. I like to be I like to know that I've just had a good meal. So for me, that works really well. If we think about Atkins or low carb or keto, they're all essentially reducing carbohydrates. If you've just, I said we've got carbs, fats and proteins, yeah? So we've just taken one out. So now we've just reduced our food choices by a third. It's hard to overeat when you've just eliminated a whole food group. I actually have probably more of a problem with Weight Watchers and Slimming World, where they say there's certain foods that you can eat unlimited amounts of, and I don't get why they're attaching these arbitrary numbers or point systems to food when they already exist and they're called calories and they're based on science, not bullshit. Basically, to put it bluntly, that's what it is. They've said good foods, bad foods. Don't know. You can, if you eat too much of anything, you will get fat. So there is no such thing. They've attached it to foods which are more voluminous foods. If you think about broccoli, imagine how much broccoli you would have to eat to become fat on broccoli. It'd be insane. It'd be physically, pretty impossible for most people. But these weird kind of frameworks that they set up, once we understand calories, then it just means that, I can eat everything, but I just have to think about the quantities. Isn't that way better? For me, that is, because the thing is, with any of these diets, I was talking about this earlier actually, any of these diets, they work really well in the short term because they give you these black and white, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that, which means that people are okay, I've got this solid list of rules that I can follow, and they will see short-term benefits, but in the long term, they start to feel quite restrictive, and that's why almost everybody fails in the long run. Whereas what I want to teach you is the fundamentals, which is understanding the calories and the macros. So when you understand why all of these different diets work for the same reason, it's harder to figure out in the short term, but way more sustainable in the long term. And that's the bit that we care about. I don't care whether how many times, honestly, if I had a quid for every time somebody was like, oh, I just do the X diet and I'll lose a stone over 8 weeks. And I was like, but you're fat again now, so it didn't work, right? You lost weight, you stopped doing it because you couldn't keep doing it, and then you've gained weight. So that's not a successful diet. Just because losing the weight is not the goal, it's keeping it off. So if we just understand the mechanisms of how we're doing it, which is harder, but again, we'll help our clients do this anyway. Right, sorry, I could just rant about this. I've had way too many consultations. And anyway, so another thing is like, a calorie deficit doesn't work for me because I've got a thyroid issue, or calorie deficit doesn't work for me because I'm going through menopause, or calorie deficit doesn't work for me because of insert reason here. And there's definitely reasons why it might be harder for some people. If there's a thyroid issue, for most people, when they have a thyroid issue, their calories might be affected by 5 or 10%. So if a version of them existed without thyroid issue, maybe they could have lost weight at 2,000 calories. I'm just going to keep the math simple. But because they've got a thyroid issue, they have to lose weight at 1,800 because their body doesn't quite turn over the calories quite as well as it should. But the same rules apply. It just means your deficit is lower than the other version of yourself, if that makes sense. And anyone who is eating consistently in a deficit and not losing weight, it's because you're not in a deficit, because that will move. As you lose weight, you will have to restrict your calories a little bit more because a smaller body will require less calories. And that's I was talking to my nan about this, and if anyone's met my nan, has anyone seen my nan in any sessions? So she's like 4'8", she's tiny. And I was like explaining to her how like I can get away with eating what I eat compared to what hers is like. And it's like, it's so starkly different. But then if you've ever seen any like the people that do like World's Strongest Man competitions, and they're like 7 foot tall, weighing like 150 kilos, majority muscle, and they're like eating, 8 to 10,000 calories a day because they're just huge. It's like a car with a massive engine. It's just going to burn through fuel so much faster. So the things that are going to affect it is muscle mass. The more muscle you have, that is the biggest thing that's controllable. Like age of medication, hormones, they're hard to do anything with. But that one, we've got control over that. It doesn't happen quickly, but we can just try and gain more muscle. So focusing on the bits that we can control the controllables, right? No point stressing about, I'm older, so my metabolism's going to be a bit slower. You can't do anything about that. But yeah, muscle mass, we definitely can. Having that muscle, again, we know the obvious bits, supporting strength, helping us feel better, just day-to-day things. Obviously, the conversations that we've had already, people being able to do things that, just a month or two ago they couldn't do, helping you stay more independent for the long run. But yeah, supporting your metabolism. If you've got more muscle, you will burn more fat, regardless of if you're exercising. Yes, Lee?
So there's been a bit of I've never really got an answer to this, or I'm never sure that the person talking to me has explained it clearly. But is muscle way heavier than fat?
So in terms of like volume, so a kilo of muscle and a kilo of fat are still the same, because they're both a kilo, but a kilo of muscle is smaller than a kilo of fat. So a person can look, most people don't think that I'm like low 90 kilos because I'm not a huge person, but I'm dense apparently. So it's because essentially like muscle based on total volume and surface area is heavier, but a kilo is still a kilo, if that makes sense. So a person who is, a person who's 90 kilos but 40% body fat, and a person who's 90 kilos and 10% body fat, they're going to look massively different. The one person is going to be in double XL and the other person is going to be in a large. Does that make sense? So this is a slide that I think everyone probably should get a photo of. So if you've got your phones, zoom in, get a photo. If you're a client, we're going to be going through some of these things with you over the coming months anyway. I'm just going to give a second to do that while I have a quick drink. I can probably make these slides available as well. I don't know how to do that, but I'll figure it out. Oh, what I'll do, I've just thought, what I'll do, because we're recording this, I'll email it out to everybody and I'll somehow try and grab screenshots or something and send them in the email as well. Yes, Lee? There we go. Yes, good idea. Yeah, I'll do that. Perfect. Thank you, Lee. So, it's a calculation, essentially. Like, we all have these same rules that apply. Like, anyone who thinks that they're in a calorie deficit and not losing weight, don't tell anyone else, because if the government finds out that you have found a way of creating energy, you're going to be kidnapped and they're going to dissect you because you've just solved the world energy crisis. Yeah, of course, yeah. Okay, exactly. Like, it's simple, just energy exchange. It's physics. Like, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can simply be transferred from one thing to another. So all it means is either, you're not in a calorie deficit because what you've worked out as your calorie deficit is too high, or you're not tracking very well, which often, that's a big one. So something that we've had with loads of clients in the past will be not reading the packaging properly when they've put something in. I remember one very specific client, and she was having salmon with her meals, and she put in the numbers, and salmon normally comes with like 2 fillets, doesn't it, together. She thought that the serving size was both of them, and it was one. So she was having double what she thought on that. She wasn't tracking the milk in her tea. She wasn't tracking the sugar in her tea. There was another like 700-800 calories a day that she was consuming that she didn't realise. And 700-800 calories for a small woman might be half of your daily calories. And that was like going unrecognised. So just something to be mindful of. So what we want to do, we've got kind of, these are general rules, right? And the point of this, note at the bottom, it's a starting estimate. You then have to track it to actually refine it. So low activity, moderate activity, and high activity. You're going to take what your body weight is in kilos and then times it by 25 to 28 if you're low activity, 29 to 32, and then that is going to give us our rough maintenance calories. So that would be what we would need to stay at our current body weight. So for this example there, a 70 kilo person times by 30, which would be that kind of moderate activity level, that's going to put them at 2,100 calories a day. Yes, Lee?
So if we're doing 3 sessions a week now, is that moderate or higher?
I would put, if you're only doing that, I'd put that as moderate. If you're getting out, probably hitting 8 to 10,000 steps a day, or you've got a physical job, or you maybe do Pilates a couple times a week, some other things as well, then you might be kind of in the higher activity category. I always would rather start on the side of caution, and I would classify myself as moderate. I only train 3 days a week at the moment. I'm not getting that many steps in right now. So I would always rather be a little bit on the stricter side, because I'd rather find out, especially with my goal trying to get a little bit leaner, I'd rather undereat a tiny bit than overeat a tiny bit. Because the consequence of undereating a tiny bit is I've just lost weight a bit faster, opposed to I've not lost weight at all. So err on the side of caution. Then we'd look at just adjusting the calories for the goal. So fat loss, again, general rules, reduce that number by somewhere between 10 and 15%. If you're looking to maintain, just keep that number exactly where it is. And then if you're looking to gain weight, I would add 5 to 10%. And the reason why the add is lower than the subtraction is because we can lose fat really, really rapidly. Like, the stricter the deficit, the more aggressively we'll lose fat. We don't want to do it super aggressively because we'll also start losing muscle too. But when it comes to the gaining weight, basically, muscle is quite limited in how fast you can build it. Eating more and more calories means you'll still gain muscle, but you're just going to gain extra fat that's not serving any purpose. You're just gaining extra fat that you're going to have to lose at a certain point. So I would rather, in a surplus, probably be more towards the 5% increase. And then, on the deficit side, I would probably rather be more towards the 15% decrease. The bit that's tricky is over time as well, these numbers will change. So what we've calculated now will apply now. In 6 weeks' time, we may have to recalculate, because as you get smaller and lighter, that deficit that used to work, you may then run into a brick wall if you're like, oh, I'm all of a sudden, like my weight, which I normally say, if your weight hasn't dropped on average over 2 weeks, then change. Like, if it's been stable for a week, don't sweat it, it's fine. Like, especially more so with women, and hormone fluctuations tend to be like, me and Kirsty, we track our weights, like when we're in a phase where we are we'll track our weights every single day, and then we work out the average for the week, and we'll know based on Kirsty's cycle of like what her weight's going to do. We'll know, like, again, menopause it changes again, but through like ovulation and menstruation phases, weight tends to be a little bit higher, and then through the luteal and the follicular phase tends to be lower. So it's just knowing those things, which is why we then zoom out and look at the whole week as an average, and then we even zoom out further and look at the whole month as an average. On average, is my weight lower? So, you know, you weigh yourself 7 times, add them all up, divide by 7, you've got your weekly average. If that's trending down, then we're onto a winner. I can have, if I have a pizza or something really salty, I can wake up like 3 kilos heavier. And then the next day, I'll be a kilo down. The next day, I'll be a kilo down. The next day, a kilo down. It wasn't 3 kilos of fat. I ate really salty food, and then my body's been like a sponge and just soaked up loads of water, so I'm just a bit puffy, basically. So those kind of smaller fluctuations get leveled out when you look at it on a weekly basis. Yes, Jules?
I used to need to scales for a long time. I used to do it a lot, and I still buy them when they go. But they give you so you put your age and your height, and it weighs you from it's like scans your things on your feet.
Yeah, it's bioimpedance, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and that gives you your calories you can have. You can have your weight in kilos or old-fashioned money. And it tells you your calories, your fat percentage, your muscle percentage, your bone, your skeletal mass. And it also tells you your metabolic age, which obviously you want to reduce. But it tells you all that just by getting up. So it doesn't matter how many times a day you get on, it remembers.
So they all work via bioimpedance, which is like it's a small electrical pulse that goes through and then it reads it. They're not that accurate. So like next door, I have a machine that I spent £14,000 on, and that's still not that accurate. The only way to get an accurate body fat, 100% accurate way to get a body fat percentage is an autopsy. That's it. It's the only way. That's on the premium one. That is. So honestly, that's it. That's literally the only way. So anyone heard of DEXA scans? Yeah. So they do for bone density. That's like gold standard. That's still not 100% accurate. They do these things where there's like a buoyancy thing where there's a big vat of water that you get inside and it's your buoyancy, and that still not 100% accurate. Like the scales, yes, they give you something. The thing is, as long as they are consistently inconsistent, then it gives you something to work off. Does that make sense? Like they're not, as long as you don't change scales every day.
I do track my food as well, so I can tell on the same track.
That's it. Like the best way to do it is just to work out what your calories are, track them for a few weeks, track your weight for a few weeks, and then if your weight has stayed the same, maintenance. If it has gone down, deficit. If it has gone up, surplus. That's the simplest way of doing it. Like, and because those numbers do change, like like that water weight. If I got on the scales after having a pizza and some beers, like the scales are going to go freaking crazy because there's just too much that it can't account for. Like it's a useful thing to have, and it gives you more information, but definitely don't get too attached to those things. Like just
I only do it once a week.
yeah, like I've got like a Whoop. You know, this was £300 or something like that, and it tells you all these things. Take it with a pinch of salt. You know, you can spend a fortune on all these really advanced bits of kit, and you know, DEXA scans. Like if you pay to get them privately, they're like £500-600. And does it matter? Like realistically,
You're going to use your £14,000
there's no point. I bought this. I bought it right before we went into lockdown, so then it sat in a cupboard for a year as well, which I was really happy about. It's not that serious. Like I don't use it. I do this. It's the reason that we've got it there is because it gives you nice visuals and makes it like more palatable. But like the fundamentals that we still try to teach, essentially that just looks good, right? It's sexy and it's this new cool branded thing, and they're like, wow, I've never done that before. And it gives us a load of information, but the fundamentals that actually change the body are this. So we just figure this bit out. Everyone got a photo? Right, so what we do then, estimate the starting calories, follow it for a couple of weeks, weigh ourselves regularly, look at the trend, adjust if needed. If the weight hasn't gone down over those 2 weeks, then we weren't in a deficit, or we weren't actually tracking as well as we thought we were. Yep, Susie?
And does it actually alter the way your body works? Would you have to take it into comparison if you were taking
So the GPL-1 agonists mostly work through appetite suppression. That's like the bulk of the results. They sometimes make people feel quite nauseous. It just makes you want to eat less food. It does help mobilize fat. So you will be more skewed to losing fat. Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, there's probably a whole topic around GLP-1 agonists, and I was talking to our nutritionist she's actually doing, so the trouble is, and the bit that I'm really skeptical on, I don't like anything that's not been around that long, because already there's stuff coming out where there's problems. I just always go back to, the whole like thalidomide babies and stuff like that, and I'm using that as a really extreme, but it was like, yeah, this is all good, everyone can have it, and then loads of things happened after. Like, I like things that have been around for like a lifetime, so that we actually do know like what are the long-term effects.
And then you get the baseline from that, what you can, what you do with your energy output, which is what you've been saying. Would that affect?
No. Same rules apply. Same rules will always apply. Like across this room, our insulin sensitivity is going to be different, but like that's not too much related to the fat mobilization.
It still stands.
Yeah, that rule still applies. Yeah. Yes.
There is one condition that contradicts this, which is type 1 diabetes. They can use a phenomenon called diabulimia.
Yes.
So they limit their insulin and the body cannot gain weight even feeding 5,000 calories.
I was going to say, yeah, there's like not even a fraction of a percent of people will, like, I've literally never ever worked with a client having well over 2,000 consultations that didn't lose weight from a calorie deficit or didn't gain weight from a surplus. There's always things that can be done. There's definitely things that, like, there's always exceptions to rules, right? No matter what the situation is. And being honest, that's outside of my scope. Like that's something that I've never worked with and never had to work around. Our nutritionist has got more experience around that. But for like, I think that's also the thing, isn't it? There's always going to be like, we'll look for a specific thing, whereas like we're not unique snowflakes for the most part. It's really, really rare.
You can actually get something like that, making an excuse not to try something like
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Basically.
yeah. Oh, the amount of times where I've had people say like, I've tried everything to lose weight, and I'll say, have you tracked your calories? And they're like, oh no, I've not done that though. That's too much hassle. I was like, that's the only bit that matters. Like that's literally the only bit that matters. So like, it's not like, unless it's a really specific medical condition, because there are, there's even like I've got certain intolerances which mean that I do things slightly differently. There is nuance to it, but that's definitely not something that we'd go into for a basics seminar right now. I think everyone should probably grab a photo of this as well if you haven't already. Yep.
Can you recommend an app that tracks calories, or is it just an ability?
So I've always used MyFitnessPal. I've used that for years.
Scan it when you're going out.
Yes.
You have to look correctly.
Yeah.
And I take pictures of everything, so I know what I'm eating.
It's called MyFitnessPal. There is a paid version. I'm still on the free version. I don't really know the difference, to be honest.
It's £60 a year, so I'll just add it for my
Yeah.
coach. And she can book into it as well, so she can check on me. But you can scan food as well, so if you go into a restaurant,
Yeah.
scan it. Barcode scans it, and register food.
Yes. Yeah. So there's everyone. So there's MyFitnessPal, which is probably the one that's been around the longest. There's NutriCheck. Yes, I've never used it, but I've heard really good things. Essentially, if anyone's never tracked before, you're going to probably start tracking it and be like, oh my god, this is a pain in the arse, because you've got to like scan things, weigh things. But if you do it once, because chances are we probably eat similar meals quite frequently throughout the months. We haven't eaten a new meal every single day for the last couple months. There's going to be reoccurring meals. So once you've weighed them and logged them into MyFitnessPal, you just click on it again. So it's quite a bit of faff to set it up. But But once you've got the bulk of your frequently eight meals in there, then it's away we go. And then if you're going out to restaurants, if it's a bigger, more chain restaurant, you can just search for, Wagamama's, blah, 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 and it'll come up and the macronutrients are already in, so you just press add and then it'll move it straight over. So that's an easy way of tracking. Yes.
Apparently, AI is really good for tracking calories as well.
I've seen a few that are starting to integrate bits. There's an app that is a great idea where you take a photo of your meal and it analyzes the portion size and it estimates. I tried it for a while and it was shit. I did. I was like, this is genius. Like if they can nail this, but it was just too inaccurate. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure over time it's going to keep getting better. Like the stuff that AI can do is crazy. So like given more time, it's just going to keep improving and improving. But right now, again, you know me, I'm a simple man, just doing things manually by hand, like scales and the ingredients on the back of the packet. It's a bit of faff, but once you've figured it out, also as well, like you don't have to do that indefinitely, because once you kind of know what most of them are, you can kind of eat, like I probably only spend 2 or 3 months a year where I'm actually tracking. The rest of it I eat fairly intuitively, because I'm like, think about it like this, you're kind of like, anyone had to get like the tracking done on their car? The wheel alignment. Like, so it's kind of like getting your tracking done, because over time it will start to deviate. Whereas once you've got it in and you're like, right, okay, I know, I can pretty much within 100 calories know what my maintenance is without even needing to calculate it, because I just know what my food should look like. If I haven't done that for like 8 months and then I start tracking, I'm like, oh, actually, I'm a little bit off here. I'm eating a bit more than I should be. Like, so just doing it for a period of time, every now and then, just to hone things in, can be quite useful. Right, so understanding the macros, we've got proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Protein is going to support muscle and recovery overall. Fats, general health, hormones, and vitamin absorption, and carbohydrates is going to be our body's primary source of energy, supporting activity. Also, again, most of our fiber is going to be coming through carbohydrates as well. So they all have a really good purpose. There are like a keto diet where you can start burning ketones and like where like people reduce carbs and then they live off just fats and proteins, which seems really good. And I actually tried this for a period of time. I've tried like every diet because I think it's worth like experiencing. And Kirsty, can you remember how I was? I was a miserable prick. I was honestly, I was terrible. I was terrible, honestly. And then I remember we were out at this food fair and I'd been doing this for like a month. I've been doing it for a month, and it was this food fair, I think it was in Bewdley, and there was this Polish donut place. And like I saw these donuts and I was like, oh. And I had a donut, and I genuinely, like I was smiling, and I wasn't meaning to smile. I was just like, I was so happy. Anyway, but there are certain situations where a ketogenic diet would be actually better for certain people. But for the most part, when you eliminate carbohydrates, your body goes through this complex process where it breaks down like fats and protein into glucose, which is basically carbohydrates again. It just goes through this like more complicated process to still get the glucose. So 9 times out of 10 people are just, actually probably more than 9 times out of 10, 99% of the time, people are probably better just to have some carbohydrates in their diet. But carbohydrates are normally the ones that will vary the most. Like protein, we can normally fairly solidly work out how much protein a person needs to be eating. Fats, there's definitely like a bare minimum where we don't really want to go below that just for hormone function and things like that. And then whatever's left, that tends to be what we backfill with carbs. So carbs will be normally the one that will manipulate the most. So yeah, just bear that one in mind. They all serve a purpose. So the easy way of doing this here, we're going to work out now, once we've gone home and calculated what our calories are going to be, we're then going to work out our protein next. So that 70 kilo person, we want to be looking at somewhere between 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. I tend to always go for the upper end. So grab a photo if you need to. So in that example, that 70 kilo person is going to need 98 grams of protein, which is going to take up about 400 of their calories. So now we had that 2,100 and we're going to deduct 400 because we need that just to get our protein in. The next one is then fats. So we're going to say around about 0.6 grams per kilo of body weight as a kind of a minimum. You can definitely go up a little bit from that depending on the person. So that means a 70 kilo person is going to need about 42 grams of fats, which is also just shy of 400 calories as well. So now, out of that 2,100, 800 calories have gone to our protein and fats. So now we've got that remaining, what would that be? 1,300 calories for carbohydrates. So if we needed to be in a deficit, so we actually needed to be 200 calories below that or 300 calories below that, that would come out the carbs. So instead of 1,300 calories of carbs, we might have 1,000 calories of carbs. So that's the one that we will play around with the most. It's the easiest one. There's definitely situations where this doesn't apply, but for everyone in the room right now, that is like 90% of what we need to know. 95% of what we need to know. Carbs just fill the rest. And it's really easy to just adjust on carbohydrates because they tend to be like the filler of our meals. You know what I mean? The pasta, the rice, the potatoes. So it's just adjusting the portion size there. That can go really, really far. And then what I want everyone to do, instead of trying to we can help you figure these out if you're a client. What we've kind of now set you is like what the gold standard of what we'd be aiming for is. Let's not try and jump straight to that bit. Let's just think about what are the first like 1 or 2 simple things that we can actually do right now that are going to move us in that direction. I genuinely think if most of you just track your food, this has actually been studied. People like lose weight just from tracking without trying to change anything, because when they start tracking and they're like, oh shit, I didn't realize there was that many calories in that. And then they start making better choices because they're becoming mindful of it. Like if you can't measure it, how do you improve it? It's really hard. Like if you measure something, all of a sudden you're turning this like emotional thing, which is how you look in the mirror, how you feel about how you look. It's turning this emotional thing into a black and white number, and you're like, that number's too big, isn't it? I should probably not have that slice of cheesecake. Like it becomes more tangible. Yeah. So like tracking alone will go so far, and then trying to just get a little bit more protein in. I personally always prefer us to try and get protein in from real foods. Supplements are great, but they are supplementary. So the only time where I'd say it's probably almost going to be a given is people that are like veggie and vegan. I think it's a lot harder to get your protein intake when you don't have animal products in your diet. And also trying to get your protein in from like beans, legumes, things like that. They're not complete proteins as well, which again, I'm not going to get into that. But supplementing with protein shakes in that situation can be quite beneficial also. But honestly, like trying to get just more protein in your diet, because I can guarantee, unless you're paying attention to it, probably everyone in this room is not eating enough protein. Yes, Lee?
Week 2, I think it was the middle session, the second session of week 2 for me. I went out and I couldn't stop eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said to you, I said, does this make me more snappy when it can do? And I was like ravenous at times.
Yeah, so think about it from like energy turnover, right? We spoke about it right at the very start. Like we're doing more, so what's your body's reaction? I'm like, yeah. I get it when I go swimming. Anyone have that? Go swimming, and I remember as a kid going to Crystal Leisure Centre, and I'd go swimming, and then I was like the hungriest that I'd ever been, and I'd like have to go up and get chips after. It's weird, right? So it's something just to be mindful of, because yes, you are like all of a sudden now, if we just introduced a whole new thing, our body sometimes can react by saying like, I am going to feel a little bit more hungry now. It's trying to just be mindful of like what we then put into our body. At that point, it's like, okay, it's fine to be hungry, but let's make sure that we're eating things that are probably slightly better choices, more protein in our diet, things like that. Okay, so I would recommend the ones to look at is if you don't track, I would start tracking and just do it I'd do more than 7 days. I would track for a couple of weeks, get to know the hard data on what you're actually putting into your body. Because without that, it's like, I don't play golf, but I think a good way of looking at it is like a driving range. And imagine you're, actually no, not even a driving range. Imagine you're just like, you're trying to get a hole in one. So you're like whacking the golf ball, and you've just got as many tries as you want just to get a hole in one. They'll just keep giving you balls. So you're going to whack it, and you're going to see where it lands, and you're like, okay, not far enough. So you're going to give it some more, and you're like, oh, too much to the left. So you're going to adjust, you're going to adjust, you're going to adjust. Over time, given enough practice, you're going to start getting a bit closer to, to the hole, right? But now imagine you're doing that, but it's pitch black, and you're just knocking golf balls into the dark. Like, you've got no data, you can't see, so you can keep trying, but because you're missing the feedback, you're never going to be able to improve because you're just knocking balls into the dark, and that's how most people handle their nutrition. If we like then actually start to like see the data, what's the outcome from this, then we can make adjustments to suit. But what we've laid out, that is like how we start. Then, if things don't work, which it probably won't on the first crack, tweak. It's this constant process of like iteration. Same with our training in the gym. It's not meant to be perfect the first time. That's kind of part of the reason. It's a consistent process of problem solving. And it'll just be like, once you solve one problem, it'll just reveal what the next one is going to be down the line. And then eventually we'll get something that works 90% of the time, and we're like, oh, cool, that's as good as I need it to be. I don't need to make it any more complicated. Okay? So, has everyone kind of chosen like one or two things that they actually want to go home with? Yeah? Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to start talking about some nutrition. So I actually think if we can start getting everyone tracking, and if this is something, if we are trying to lose weight, weighing yourself consistently. So then we can talk to you in a few weeks' time, and we know roughly we can work out what your average weight is, and what your average calorie consumption is, and what your average, what's that, sorry? Yeah, measurements as well. Measurements is another way of doing it. For now, that's just a start point. If we can literally get your weight and your calories and your protein, we've got so much data to then work with of like, where do we actually start making some improvements? Okay?
What can you have because you don't like sugary drinks now? What about caffeine? I think I'm what
Me too.
that do in terms of like your eating habits and I'll get through the day coffee?
Yeah, me too. Like, how do you think I make it to 6 o'clock? 6 o'clock. Black Americanos all the way through. So yeah, somebody who's had being honest with you, I've definitely had like problems with caffeine addiction. Like when I had that business, I also had another business, and I was working 100+ hours a week, consistently traveling around the country, and I only drank black coffee and white Monster. It was terrible. It was like absolutely terrible. And when I stopped, I had, because I cooked cold turkey, and I had like drug addict level withdrawals. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, my head was pounding for like a week. I couldn't concentrate. It was horrendous. And it took that for me to realize like how addicted to caffeine I actually was. It was pretty extreme. And same as I said at the start, there's not things that are good or bad. It's the poison is in the dose, essentially. There is definitely safe levels of caffeine, and there are definitely dangerous levels of caffeine. There are people that have died from overdosing on caffeine. That's why I've heard horror stories of people trying to make their own pre-workouts where they'll crush up caffeine and they'll mix micrograms and grams, and people have died from doing silly shit like that. So within reasonable amounts, it's okay. It can help suppress appetite. It's not anything that's going to influence it. Well, if you cut it out from today, I guarantee that you'd probably be like, oh, actually, it probably was doing something, because you'll probably be even more hungry if you just cut that out altogether. So it does do something, but and like some people can have a coffee and go straight to bed. Like, people are different. There is that individual variability. Kirsty can do it. Whereas for me, I do try to make sure I don't have any caffeine. Normally, so midday, 2 o'clock. I will break that rule sometimes, depending on what I've got going on. But like, I try to do that because I know that will have a measurable effect on my sleep quality. Is that a good answer? Yeah? Yeah? Right. Any other questions? Anything else? Any other specifics? The math part, yeah, that's it. Honestly, like most of getting in shape, it does involve a bit of math. Yeah, it does involve a bit of math. But as I said before, though, like the nicely packaged diet programs where they're like, good food, bad food. Like, that's what I mean. It's easy to consume straight away because it gives you these black and white rules, but they're hard to stick with in the long run. This, it's hard to start because it's math and you've got to do calculations and you've got to track things and you've got to be patient. But then once you understand like the moving parts, it becomes quite freeing because then you, like, I go on holiday and I will get cocktails first thing in the morning and I will eat as much as I want to eat because I do not give a shit if I come back 5 kilos heavier because I have all the tools in my toolbox to just lose that weight. And it's something, for me, I like to just, when I'm on holiday, I'm on holiday. And it relieves a lot of the stress and the guilt around any of these fluctuations because it is normal that we will go up and we will go down. Like, we're probably not going to get to our ideal weight and then stay on that exact number. We're going to go through periods of time where, like, I will deliberately get a bit fatter around Christmas because I don't care and I want to enjoy Christmas. Like, I'm just going to gain, and I'll probably gain 3-4 kilos over a couple of months, and then I'll probably keep it for another couple of months, and then I'll start to like shave it off because I've been lean in winter once and I was cold all the time. It's actually, like, you'd be surprised at how a little bit of body fat does keep you warm. And I've also been fatter in summer and it's not very fun either. Like, I was hot and sweating all the time. So, like, now, from purely practical reasons, I actually will play around with my body weight through the seasons a little bit. And when you are in a calorie surplus, it will be a bit easier to gain muscle and to get a bit stronger. Like, if you look at most of the strongman competitors, they're not super lean. They do carry, they're not, super fat, some of them maybe, but like, they're carrying a little bit extra body fat, and there's some reasons why. Just eating in that calorie surplus, your body's just got so much energy being pumped into its body, like into it, it can just recover a little bit better. And there are benefits of, like, if you think about, like, imagine you've just got more fat around your joints. So then, like, you've got more padding and there's elastic energy being stored in your joints. So it's actually almost acting like a bit of a spring for your body. So it kind of, even though you're not technically stronger, but you've got, like, more elasticity within the movement. I'm not explaining that very well, but so there's benefits of being sometimes in a bit of a surplus, sometimes in a bit of a deficit. Okay. Any other questions?
Just a comment, really.
Yeah.
And this is not me saying I'm not willing to give this a go, because I am absolutely, I'm desperate to lose weight. But I've been desperate to lose weight for 40 years.
Yep.
And I've been dancing around at the same 28 pound for, I can't remember how many years now.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lie to you. The idea of feeling like I'm buying into the diet culture, which is kind of what it says to me. I know it isn't that. It's kind of what it says to me, having spent all these years battling with the same few pounds. It's like, it feels a bit like torture. And please don't think I'm what you're saying, I'm not at all.
What do you?
What
do you mean by buying into diet culture?
Well, I suppose it's the mentality of things like Slimming World and the wagon that we've all been on, we kept falling on.
Well,
and the truth is, there's no wagon.
Yeah. Well,
there is no wagon.
that's it. That's why I said it at the start. I don't like the term diet, to be honest with you. Like, I think about it as, like, lifestyle changes and just adjusting our mindset around it. Like, a diet almost implies that it's a temporary thing. Like, I just think let's be better educated and make smarter choices over time. And once we understand all the moving pieces and what to manipulate when we need to, it'll allow us to have some fluctuations and not get emotional about it and just be like, okay, right, I've done this. I need to course correct, and I know what levers I need to pull because I've done it once before. And it's in the long term, it sounds fucking stressful because I've just, if this is stuff that you've not done before, it's a pain in the ass to get started. But once you've got it and it feels normal, everyone, like, how scared was everyone when they started lifting? Do you know what I mean? That was a big daunting thing, and they were like, oh, I don't know about this. And then, a couple months in, and it's enjoyable. People actually really love it now. And I'm not going to say that you're going to love this because you probably won't, but you'll probably love the results. Yeah.
I'll show you.
Yeah, if anyone's seen, like, Jules' like before and after photos are crazy.
15 weeks and I've lost, not from dieting, from just making better choices. And I don't eat anything I don't like. If I don't like it, I won't even try it.
Yeah.
I just eat the things I like and more protein.
Yeah, it's just a more.
From a size 24 to a size 18.
Yeah, it's.
Coming here as well as out.
Yeah. It's just a more, it's a more long-term sustainable thing because there's not these super strict hard and fast rules. because again, like also thinking about calories on a 24-hour window as well. I've not even touched on that, but like it's not like at midnight your body presses reset and we're like, right, we've logged all those calories and then today's a new day. Like we think about it on a bit more of a longer term scale. Like I sometimes will deliberately restrict my calories a little bit more throughout the week so that then on a Saturday I can have a bit more freedom. If I shave off 100 calories a day, Monday to Friday, I've now got 500 more calories to play with, which that means that then I can go out and have something that's a little bit more fun. So you can mess around with it on a bigger scale than just a 24-hour scale. Like this is again more of probably a more, it's not even complicated, but it's a bit more of an advanced, where people will do like calorie cycling, where they will have higher calories on certain days, depending on whether they're training, and higher carbohydrates on certain days. It's probably more complex than it needs to be. Like it's just once we can get the basics and we can eat consistently, then we can be like, I always do like to go out on a Friday night, or I like to go out on a Saturday night. And then like, okay, cool. What can we change in the week to make that a little bit easier? Is there something that because shaving off 100 calories a day is a piece of piss. Like we can all find 100 calories to reduce relatively easily. So if we can just do that, and then that means that we then have that extra bit of freedom for the end of the week. It's a better way of doing it. Sustainability, is going to be the key. And that's why I'm saying you don't need to track for the rest of your life. Like in a perfect world you would, but I know that you're not going to, because I don't. Like, there's going to probably be a point where, like, I track. I remember MyFitnessPal. I did a full year, every day, logged my weight, and by the end of the year, I was like, cool, I've done that. I'm just gonna see how I get on. Like a few months later, I was like, I'm no better or worse for it, because I was so dialed in and I knew what I was doing anyway, and I ate a lot of similar-ish things over and over again that I was essentially just spending an extra 10 minutes a day tracking my stuff just for the sake of it. It's good because it keeps it top of mind, and it definitely keeps you like really mindful of the decisions that you make. But it shouldn't feel like this is like, oh man, I've got to do this for the rest of my life, because that then you also kind of get boxed in the same issues with like the diet culture of like good food, bad food. It's nutrition's massively psychological. It's freaking like, but it's so like emotional, and a lot of people like get very in their head about it, and it's a really complex topic from that side of things. We like make a lot of our decisions around food based on feelings. Yeah, we almost. Yeah, like almost all of us are in certain ways. Like I'm relatively relatively good shape, right? But like I go through cycles depending on what's going on with me. Like, so I don't care, I'll share it in the room. I've had problems with depression since I was at school. So like when I'm in like a more depressive state, I actually will tend to like eat more and I will gain more weight. When I'm in like a very hyper-focused ADHD, like aggressive, hard push state, I will just forget to eat for long periods of time. So that's me, and my mental state affects my eating habits. I'm fortunate that my depression and anxiety balance each other out. so it kind of means that I can just like manipulate my food around those two factors. But like we all are, emotionally eating in some capacity for the vast majority of the room. And it's like, even if we can start to be mindful of that and catch it, it's like, why am I feeling like I want to get a takeaway tonight? And then you're like, oh, okay, it's been really stressful at work, and I've missed my partner, and I don't want one of stuff cooked in. I just want to sit down and relax with them. Is that the thing? And then it's like, okay, is there something that I can do? Like, could I meal prep and get something in the freezer? Because if you like, meal prep doesn't always have to be, let's go and sit and make 20 meals on a Saturday morning. It could be the meal that you're about to cook. Instead of cooking 2 portions, just cook 4 and then freeze 2 of them. Or, do you know what I mean? Like, meal prep can be done on a smaller scale than a bigger scale. So, yeah, seriously.
I think it's what we've spoken to before. It's dealing with real life situations. It's not a breeze, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
And you have to sort of make these choices for yourself in the long run.
Yeah.
It's real life.
Exactly, that's it. And we're all going to make compromises on what we're going to do. We just got to decide which ones we're going to make. Like, I can build more muscle if I spent longer in the gym. I can build more muscle if I was more on the ball with my diet. I would lose fat faster if I was a little bit stricter with my diet. But I don't care. It's not that serious for me. I'm moving in the direction I want to, so I'd rather do it at a pace that I'm comfortable with. So you pick in your compromises. I'm not a professional bodybuilder. I don't want to get on stage in my underpants covered in oil. Like it's not that serious. Do you know what I mean? Like I've got friends that are bodybuilders that compete, and like not in a million years, like this is probably like oversharing, but I know like professional bodybuilders, they can't get an erection because their hormones are in the pan. They're miserable. Like women, they will stop menstruating when they're getting close to prep because their body's literally shutting down. They're yeah, and I was like, why would anyone put themselves through that? And you know, fair enough, it's for a competition and whatever their goals are. But like, you know, I'm using that as a really extreme example of like we're going to make some compromises because we're not doing that, are we? So like, how many do we want to make? And if we compromise all the way, then we're overweight and we're knocking years off our life. So it's got to find somewhere between here and here where we're okay with, and we're like, are we moving in the right direction? If the answer is yes, then we're like, cool, we'll just do this. And it might mean that our goals take us 12 months instead of 6 months. But if it's done in a way that feels manageable, then I think that's I think that's just a better route to go. Okay. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Woo!